Hello everyone. See, in our last video we talked about blood. We started talking about blood rather, which is a very important and essential part in our circulatory system. Now, let's talk about what does blood consist of. Okay, so what does this blood consist of? So basically, blood consists of plasma. Okay, then in plasma, there are these blood cells, okay, which are suspended in plasma. So blood cells, and blood cells are three types. They are red blood cell, RBCs, white blood cells, WBCs, and platelets. So let's talk about each of these. Okay, now if we first start talking about plasma, see, plasma is the liquid part of the blood. All right, why liquid part? Why plasma is only liquid part? Because see, cells are kind of solid. Okay, when we talk about cells, blood cells, they are kind of solids, they are not completely liquid. All right, so plasma is the only part which is kind of liquid part of the blood. So plasma is the liquid part of the blood. Then it is yellowish in color and contains 90% of water. But does it contain only water? No. It has food, waste, enzymes, etc. dissolved in it. In fact, blood cells are also suspended in plasma. Suspended means they are just there, in plasma, floating in plasma, these cells. Now let's start talking about blood cells. So as I said, there are three types of cells. First is red blood cells. So if we talk about RBCs, the shape of RBC is disc shaped. Let me show you. See, this is your blood vessel. Inside this yellow fluid, it is plasma, and this red color disc shaped, look at this. All these red color disc shaped cells, they are red blood cells. So they are RBCs. Okay. These a bit larger than RBCs, okay, they are white blood cells. See, that doesn't mean they are white, okay. So these are white blood cells, and this yellow is plasma, and these are platelets, which are smaller than RBCs. All right, so this is your blood vessel, and inside there is this liquid, which is plasma, and then RBC, which is disc shaped cells. So the RBCs are disc shaped cells. So if we talk about shape, then they are disc shaped. Now they contain red colored protein. This is very important. RBCs have red colored protein, and the name of this protein is hemoglobin. Okay, so this is RBCs contain red colored protein, which is known as hemoglobin. Now this hemoglobin absorbs oxygen and transport it to the cells all over the body, right? The main function of the hemoglobin is what? To absorb excuse me, to absorb oxygen and to transport that oxygen to the cells all over the body, because we know that human beings or any multicellular organisms which have this kind of complex structure, all this respiration, everything is being done at a cellular level. So naturally oxygen is needed at a cellular level. So oxygen has to go to the cells, each and every cells of our body. All right, so this is what hemoglobin does. It absorbs oxygen and it transports it to the cells of all over the body. Now what happens is, see, oxygen combines with hemoglobin. This oxygen and hemoglobin, they combine together, and together they make oxyhemoglobin. When the blood reaches to the part or to the organ or to the cells where oxygen is needed, there hemoglobin, this oxyhemoglobin, breaks down and the cells use up the oxygen. All right, so what happens is, when blood reaches cells, that need oxygen and hemoglobin, all right, the oxygen is used by the cells for the respiration, and hemoglobin then becomes free to carry more oxygen. All right, so hemoglobin is basically carrier of oxygen. Okay, now if we talk about white blood cells, so white blood cells, first we'll talk about its main function. What is the main function of white blood cells? Because everything rest of the features of white blood cells, they are depending on this function. So the main function is to fight against diseases, okay, by destroying harmful bacteria and other foreign materials or organisms, anything which are harmful for our body. So WBC fight against disease causing bacteria. Now these WBCs, they have slightly larger size, okay, they are slightly larger in size than RBC. If you look at this, see, WBCs are larger than RBCs. And see why they have to be larger? Naturally, they need to fight against disease, right? Secondly, they don't have any fixed shape. Now again, why they don't have any fixed shape? Why there is no fixed shape to WBC? The reason behind it is, basically what happens is, see, you don't know in which shape the bacteria, harmful bacteria, would come in our body, right? So WBC they need to adjust themselves according to the size and shape of the harmful bacteria so that they can fight against it. And that's why they do not have any fixed shape. In fact, they change their shape according to the harmful bacteria and harmful foreign materials, all right, so that they can fight against them. So the next thing is, they are fewer in number than RBC. So number wise they are lesser, but size wise they are larger than RBC, all right. Then very important point is that they are able to move on their own. Now why is it so? See, we know that the main function of WBC is to fight against disease causing bacteria, right? So naturally we don't know that in which organ or in which part of the body the disease causing bacteria would come. So these WBC, they need to transfer themselves, okay, they need to go to the infected part of the body, and that's why they should be able to move on their own, right? So WBCs are able to move on their own so that they can pass through the walls of the blood vessels and reach infected parts of the body. So this is how the main function of WBC and the features of WBC. Now, if we talk about platelets, so platelets, basically they are smaller than RBC. Let me show you platelets. See, these are platelets, these, these, okay, these all are platelets. So they are smaller than RBC. They help the blood to clot. See, basically what happens whenever we get any cut or wound, then for some time the blood would flow from that wound, but then it stops, right? So why so? Because naturally it has to stop, otherwise there will be blood loss, and that's not good for the health, for our health. So these platelets, they are responsible, and they because of the platelets only, the flow of the blood is blocked there after some time, and it prevents blood loss, which is very good thing, all right. So it helps to block the flow of the blood and prevents blood loss. So क्या देखा हमने? हम बात कर रहे थे ब्लड सेल्स की. ब्लड में कौन सी चीजें होती है? बेसिकली प्लाज्मा होता है जो कि लिक्विड पार्ट ऑफ द ब्लड है, येलो कलर होता है, उसमें सिर्फ 90% वाटर नहीं होता, बाकी की चीजें फूड वेस्ट और एंजाइम्स भी होते हैं जो कि उसमें डिसॉल्व होते हैं. ब्लड सेल्स भी इसमें होते हैं जो कि सस्पेंडेड होते हैं प्लाज्मा में. अगर हम ब्लड सेल की बात करें तो फर्स्ट आता है आरबीसी, जो डिस्क शेप होता है. उस आरबीसी मतलब रेड कलर. क्यों होता है उसको रेड कलर? बिकॉज उसमें हीमोग्लोबिन कंटेन होता है. हीमोग्लोबिन का मेन फंक्शन क्या है? हीमोग्लोबिन एक सब्सटेंस है जिसका मेन फंक्शन है ऑक्सीजन को कैरी करना और उसको ट्रांसपोर्ट करना जहां भी उसकी ज़रूरत है वहां पे। तो वो क्या सिर्फ ऑक्सीजन को ट्रांसपोर्ट करता है? सी बेसिकली ऑक्सीजन हीमोग्लोबिन के साथ कंबाइन हो जाता है और जहाँ पे ऑक्सीजन की ज़रूरत होती है वहाँ पे वो ऑक्सीजन दे देता है, राइट? थोड़ा बहुत हीमोग्लोबिन भी उसमें आ जाता है एंड देन hemoglobin becomes free to carry the oxygen again, more oxygen again, and this is how the function goes on. फिर हमने बात की WBC की। WBC का मेन फंक्शन होता है टू फाइट अगेंस्ट डिजीज कॉजिंग बैक्टीरिया, इसलिए वो लार्जर साइज में होते हैं RBC से। उसकी कोई फिक्स शेप नहीं होते बिकॉज उनको अपने शेप्स चेंज करने पड़ते हैं अकॉर्डिंग टू द शेप ऑफ द हार्मफुल बैक्टीरिया। ओके, फिर वो फीवर नंबर में होते हैं, ज्यादा RBC से ज्यादा नहीं होते वो। उनका और एक मेन फंक्शन है और मेन फीचर है ये कि दे आर एबल टू मूव ऑन देयर ओन, वो खुद ही मूव कर सकते हैं डिपेंडिंग ऑन वेयर द डिजीज कॉजिंग बैक्टीरिया आर प्रेजेंट, तो वहां पे वो चले जाते हैं टू फाइट। ओके, फिर हमने बात की प्लेटलेट्स की। उस RBC से छोटे होते हैं, ब्लड क्लॉट करने में वो बहुत हेल्पफुल होते हैं। इनफैक्ट उनका मेन फंक्शन प्लेटलेट्स का ब्लड क्लॉट करना ही है। ओके, देयर आर अदर फंक्शंस व्हिच यू आर गोइंग टू स्टडी इन हायर स्टैंडर्ड्स, बट राइट नाउ यू जस्ट नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस मच दैट उनका मेन फंक्शन, प्लेटलेट्स का मेन फंक्शन ब्लड को क्लॉट करना है। क्यों क्लॉट करना है? क्योंकि ब्लड फ्लो नहीं होना चाहिए ज्यादा। अगर कुछ कट लगता है या कुछ वुंड हो जाता है, इंजरी होती है, तो ब्लड ज्यादा ब्लड लॉस नहीं होना चाहिए, इसीलिए। सो ये कुछ चीजें थी जो हमारी ब्लड में होती है और उनके कुछ फंक्शंस होते हैं।